Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday night update. It is the Earthmaster here on this side of the microphone. Thursday, July 18th, 2024. It's about 11:33 p.m. here, California time, West Coast time. A 4.2 earthquake, the latest quake here into the Indonesia Islands area. That follows a very eventful evening so far out here across the this beautiful globe we live on, including a very large earthquake down here into the Chile area, right underneath this area. 7.4 earthquake coming in earlier this evening. 117 kilometers deep. Goodness, that is a very powerful earthquake, and it does look like it has triggered some other earthquake thousands of miles away. I know it may seem almost impossible, but you got to remember, if you move around one portion of the plate out here, it ultimately affects other areas around the plate boundary. So we've seen a fairly large earthquake up here a short time later from that 7.4 with a 6.0 earthquake here into the Aleutian Trench. That earthquake coming in at 41 kilometers deep or so. Also a number of earthquakes throughout the area of Southern California, the Bay Area as well. And still kind of watching this. Got a little bit of aftershock activity occurring a little bit into the deeper regions here of the Chile Trench. Not 100% certain that we're done yet. The Chile Trench is very capable of producing some mega quakes. We're talking about above a 7.4, above an 8. And it's been a little while since we've seen an 8-pointer. I want to show you guys this graph here. And folks always asking me, well, man, it seems like there's a lot of earthquakes happening around the globe right now. Well, there's not. Right now, at least in the last few hours, yeah, things have been on the uptick. But we're almost always seeing 5-pointers and 4-pointers. Doesn't matter where you're at out there around the globe. In the typical zones, we get about 13,000 earthquakes between M4.0 and the 4.9 magnitude each year. And of course, the number goes up as the magnitude goes down. But something is missing here. We haven't seen any 8-pointers in a little while. We see normally on occasion here each year 15 earthquakes of magnitude 7.0 to 7.9. And where are we right now? Well, we are at 6 for the total tally so far this year. Halfway through the year, just about. And yeah, I'd say we got a few more 7s to go. But notice, I want to pull up the last. I set this as. Let me see what I set this as. Let's see. I think it was 2020, right? The last 4 years. 7.0 and above. Okay, so our last 8-pointer, technically, we had 3 of them back in 2021. So we haven't seen an 8-pointer since 2021. In fact, this 8.1 there in the South Sandwich Trench here was the last 8-pointer. But that was a year of 3 8-pointers. If you guys remember right, an 8.2 in Alaska, 8.1 South Sandwich Trench, 8.1 Kermadec Island. So the question is, all those 8-pointers, is that going to potentially put off the 8-pointer potential out here for a couple years? Who knows? But, the average, at least we should see at least an 8-pointer on any given year out here. And it's been since 2021. So we're looking at 3 years of no 8.0 magnitude or greater earthquakes out here. Nobody wants an 8.0, right? Obviously, that can do some tremendous damage. By the way, that earthquake there in Peru, underneath the Chile area today, that is a little bit south here of the 7.2 that struck last month, a little bit further up north here along the Chile Trench. And this area is very capable of producing some mega quakes. We're talking about 9.5, I believe, is the largest magnitude ever recorded here in this area. Let me show you guys here. Let's do a little bit of a modification here. We're going to go 7.0, and we're just going to go back Yeah, let's go way back in time. I wish I had a time travel machine. That'd be awesome. I just want to see the Peru Chile Trench area. I'm going to draw a little area here on the map and use this region and just show you guys the historical data out here. Of course, the largest magnitude, 9.5, at least in our recorded history here, down along this portion of the Peru Chile Trench. That was a huge earthquake, a great earthquake is what they call it. And that one still stands the test of time as being the largest earthquake out here in recorded history, our recorded history anyway. Excuse me. Prior to that, 8.8, 2010, roughly in the same area. 8.5, a little bit further up north back in 1922. 8.3 back in 2015. 8.2, 1950. And then a couple older earthquakes in there as well. So, hey, is it possible we could be seeing maybe an 8-pointer out here in this area? Good possibility. You know, it takes a lot of strain to build up a 9-pointer out here. 9-pointers tend to occur, I think it's about every 15 years or so. If I remember right, our last 9-pointer was back in 2011, the great earthquake up there in Japan. That was a huge earthquake and subsequent tsunami. Same with this one, 9.5. That produced I believe, a significant tsunami as well, even though that was well into the Peru Chile Trench. So, you know, there's a lot going on out here right now with the plates, and certain areas have gone absolutely quiet out here across Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Samoa, Fiji. This area is quiet as heck. And with all this subsequent movement going on here, we have to watch for some major adjustment here. The next hours, the next couple days here are going to be very interesting to watch following all this broad-scale activity out here today. You got to remember these vibrational waves, these frequencies that are being sent off here from the surface waves of these giant earthquakes. They can trigger swarms, and they can also trigger events here. I believe this event here in Alaska was triggered from that 7.4 that we've seen earlier this evening. No doubt in my mind. So, definitely keep an eye on California, right? California sits out here along the eastern boundary of the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate boundary. So what have we seen out here today in terms of magnitudes? The latest one at 3.4 up here outside the Bay Area along the Greenville Fault, Morgan Hill. That's the latest earthquake, but we also seen some earthquake activity down here in the Baja California area and a handful of smaller quakes out here as well. Nothing major following these two large earthquakes today, but you know, still got to keep an eye on areas that are well overdue for some large-scale movement. You know, all it takes is a little bit of nudge, a little nudge here on the plate boundary, and we could have a big one popping off anytime. So keep an eye, California area. They've been rocking and rolling slightly with the threes. Mount St. Helens area, small amount of earthquake activity out here. I know it's showing 0.0, but there's definitely some microquake activity occurring underneath that volcano around the Mount Rainier area as well. I want to show you guys a Yellowstone overview. I was checking that out earlier. It's an interesting signature, right? That's a 7.4 earthquake down there into the Peru Chile Trench that showed up nicely, very nicely here. I'm sure it showed up all across the seismograph stations around the globe. Not even joking. That's how large of an earthquake this was. And then a little bit later, we've seen that 6-pointer up here. That's going to be this one into the Alaska area. Something going on here in the last hour or so that hard to say exactly what it is. I do want to double check the weather out here, see what that may be like up there in the Yellowstone area. Did not mean to do this one. We'll check out Iceland here in a little bit. Windy map, here we go. Because a lot of times thunderstorms and whatnot can play a major part on what's going on. Give me a break. This mouse, I'm going to replace it, I think, here soon. I want to check out the last 6 hours here around Yellowstone. Yeah, there were some thunderstorms that blew through there. The south side got another band up here coming through recently. So I think what we're seeing over here recently in the last hour, some thunderstorm activity. Didn't really show up here across the majority of the park, but local activity picked it up there. But as far as a large-scale movement, you know, that 7-pointer and the 6-pointer in Alaska, yeah, that showed up quite nicely across the majority of these working seismograph stations. But if you look at some of these other ones, you're thinking, man, what's going on here? Didn't even pick up any seismic waves. So I'm not for sure what's going on with these other ones. They look like they are tuned too low in terms of picking up activity, or they may be just a seismograph station that picks up locally. But yeah, looks a little odd. Either way, yeah, we've seen some broad scale movement out here today. We'll keep an eye on certain areas. Obviously, we got some stuff going on out here today. A lot of deep movement out here across the eastern Pacific and adjacent plates here around the northern edge of the Filipino plate. Majority of these are fairly deep, including this 4-pointer, the latest quake here into the Aleutian Trench, 497 kilometers deep. So when we get some broad scale deep activity, we know things are about ready to go on the uptick here across the area. Still lacking activity around Solomon Islands, Fiji area. Nothing showing up on the Earthquake 3D globe in this area. That's gone quiet for about 10 days, aside from a couple deep quakes up here in the Vanuatu area. But that's a little surprising to see such absent earthquake activity in this area. There's a lot of aftershock activity occurring following that 7-pointer as well. Not going to see it on the USGS map. We'll see some that's above 4.0, 4.5 or so. But as you can see on the Earthquake 3D globe, they got quite a few 2s and 3s coming in. That is the EMSC model, European model, picking up the world earthquake activity here on the globe. So it's a combination on the globe of USGS and the EMSC earthquake. So pretty important that we see what's going on here in terms of smaller activity as well. Not seeing too much adjustment here across the Caribbean plate for now. Mainly smaller microquake activity. You got to remember, you move around one piece of the puzzle here, even though we don't see any major adjustment going on here specifically across this area, it can play a part on what's going on up here, believe it or not. I mean, it may seem impossible, but you know, we're just a little bitty ant here on this planet, and these plates are awfully huge, and it's just a giant eggshell, cracked eggshell, so to speak. And you move around a piece of the puzzle, it ultimately can affect areas thousands of miles away. Hawaii earthquake activity, it looks like it has calmed down a little bit here. Still seeing some movement up here across the upper east rift zone leading up to the crater area. So let's go see what's going on here real quick. Where the volcano still sits at a yellow and advisory. I guarantee you we're going to see that seismograph station there pick up those large earthquakes. At least the surface waves here coming through. That's going to be the S waves. Notice those very wavy lines out here. Those are the surface waves from the 7.4. As far as local seismic activity, you can see it there in the background. A number of earthquakes there across the summit and upper east rift zone. But no eruption as of yet. Deformation data out here in terms of inflation shows a little bit of leveling off here over the last few hours. But overall, the seismic inflation event here across this volcano is continuing to go up and up and up. All right, out and about here. Let's see if we got anything else going on here across the area. Mainly, I mean, this is all very typical there across the Indonesia Islands area, the Mediterranean as well. Nothing going on across the Atlantic. One earthquake there in the South Africa area, 3.7. Iceland, well, let's see what's going on here with Iceland, and then we'll check the Cascadia subduction zone. Got a little swarm going on up here across this rift zone boundary, well north here of the Svartsengi and the Grindavik area, where our most recent eruption activity has taken place. This could be associated with some type of there's these power plants up there that, or hydrothermal plants that utilize the energy out here. So I'm not 100% certain if that's associated with it, but a little bit of swarming going on out there for now. The Grindavik area down here, nothing major going on, but I do want to check out the Svartsengi overall trend in inflation here. And the vertical displacement is right here on the bottom in the red. Notice that we've been going up here since the last eruption back in the end of May. Not quite at the area, or at least the level reached prior to the eruption seen back in late May. I'm noticing a little bit of downturn here. Notice these couple hour run, or these 4 hour runs here showing a little bit of downturn. So we'll see what happens here over the next couple days. Maybe we're getting to a state where we're going to see some pause out here in the eruptions there across Iceland. Let's see what we got for space weather activity. Anything major going on? Nope. Got big earthquakes and no major space weather. That's another thing, right? I've been trying to keep a tally on space weather relation and earthquakes, but there's really been nothing going on. We haven't got hit with a major CME, no major X flares or anything recently. No major proton events, so we got bigger earthquake activity, but not in relation to the space weather activity. Some very low-grade C-flare activity, it looks like. As far as the magnetic complexity here on the solar ham site, well, we got this one right here to watch pretty closely, and it's, I don't know. Not quite impressed with this at all. It was looking a little bit more promising earlier this morning and late last night, but looks like we may be decaying slightly, or evolving, so to speak. But that's about the only one of any noteworthy value. All these other sunspots here are pretty wimpy, and they are fading and going away. 15% chance for an X flare, M flare at 60, C flare around 99% chance or so, but no major roars in the forecast. It looks like they've added maybe a G1 class storm here late into the area July 21st. So this is what they're calling for tomorrow night. Now this is going to be, so we got Friday night. This is going to be for Saturday night. Potentially Saturday night. So we'll see. A little bit of amplification there. Maybe a little bit of elevated storminess there across the auroras. Let me see why. Let's check this out here real quick, see what we got. Here's the sun, earth in the green. Yeah, there's a little bit of CME activity here, it looks like, recently from a flare. Is from that from that X flare that popped off there on a couple days ago. It does look like maybe we'll see a little bit of a glancing blow here from that CME. Not a huge impact, nothing like what we've seen a couple months ago. But yeah, maybe a quick little jolt here of plasma density and speed kicking up. So we'll see what it looks like here. Not tomorrow night, but the next night, Saturday night. All right, far as the hurricanes out here, we got any major hurricane development out here? Looks like that tropical system out here went kaput. Well, there it is out there in the Central Pacific. But it has, it looks like it's disappeared completely. Not a huge threat out there across the Eastern Pacific for now. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Nothing expected here in the next 48 hours. That is a good sign, right? Good sign. So let's check out these regional models here. We're going to go to... We'll just go to the 48 here. See what we got for the next couple runs. I want to keep an eye here on the Gulf of Mexico. See if there's anything of noteworthy value out there as far as spin-ups go in terms of hurricanes. Maybe look at that hurricane coming off the Mexico coast there a little bit later into August. That's a ways, though. That's like 2 weeks away. This may be, fairy tale land, but we'll keep an eye on it. Looks like something may be brewing off here, coming off the western Mexico coast there a little bit later on next month. But California, well, we continue to cook. We're expecting highs out here around 107, 110 degrees here over the next few days. I need a ticket out of here. I'm not even joking. I need to go somewhere much cooler. Not even joking. All right, folks, I am going to call it a night. Two major events out here this evening, roughly in between, it puts the North American side here, the North American plate boundary in the line of fire, so to speak, if you want to look at directional movement. And California has seen some earthquake activity out here today. There's not a whole lot of large-scale movement, but there's definitely been an uptick here in 3s and 2s. Let me check out the tremor here real quick, see what we got for Cascadia tremor. Northern California and a little bit up here underneath Washington for a total tally of 64 epicenters. Nothing major going on out here across the Cascadia for now. But, as always, we got to be on guard, right? And as someone mentioned here in one of my recent comments, not only do you have to be prepared for, the physical side, far as generators and maybe gas, food, toilet paper, soda, water, whatever you guys drink. You have to be prepared in that aspect, but also in the mental side, right? Because when a lot of stuff does go down out here in terms of larger scale movement, we're looking at lack of power, electricity, bathroom stuff. It's a lot of people aren't used to like living off grid or camping, so to speak. A lot of people freak out when they go camping. Oh my gosh, there's bugs. It's what am I going to do? There's no privacy out here in the woods. You got to prepare yourself definitely mentally for a large event, because things can change in a blink of an eye. We're all used to our regular routine. Go to work, whatever you work at, come home, make the kids dinner, watch a movie, go to bed. It's the same routine, but when you get that routine upset in a big fashion, a lot of people are not mentally prepared for that, and you have to have a strong mindset. Someone mentioned that earlier in one of my posts here, that that's probably the more important thing you need to prepare for, is the mindset for a big event to take place out here. Because what are you going to do? There's no power. Say you run out of fuel. What's the next step? It's going to be months before you get a gas station working. So you have to mentally prepare for it, and who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know when the next big earthquake is going to take place out here. Luckily, these two events were not around a major populated area. Well deep here underneath the Chile area, away from any major populated region. So the 7.4, had it been on the surface level, it'd be a lot stronger, right? And more damage. But luckily, the population density out here where the epicenter struck is very minimal, around Bolivia and Chile area. But, yeah. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Have yourself a good night. Stay safe. And, make sure you have a plan. It's very important. We're living in some very interesting times right now. And we just got to, make sure we pull through it and prepare. We'll catch you guys back out here for a Friday update. It's almost Friday here. It's a couple minutes short of the Friday time period, on the clock here. But we'll see you guys back out here early in the Friday morning after a little bit of sleep. Take care, folks.